In this video, I want to give you some tips on how to get started teaching your kid at home, because it can be daunting, especially if you're not an educator, to teach your kid at home. If you decide to homeschool, or even if you want to support your child in their education journey and support them at home, because honestly, when kids are in the school, sometimes they can't get everything that they need because there's literally one teacher to, say, 25 kids or 30 kids, 35 kids, which happens actually pretty often out here, especially in the state of Nevada. When I taught first grade, I had 25 kids. So I just want to give you some tips to get started. So while I pretty much despise some of the standardized testing, there is a time and a place for some assessments. So at the beginning of your journey, I would seek out some just basic assessments to help you to identify exactly where your child is, what they know, and then how you can move forward. Because if you don't know where they're at, it's really hard to come up with a program for you and your family. Even when I'm working with students and they're struggling with, say, reading, I need to figure out exactly where they're breaking down. So assessments in that case are actually great. They help you, they help the student, and then you can move forward. So I think assessments are amazing, provided that you're not doing it all the time, what we find in the traditional school setting. So that would be the first step to getting started teaching at home. And then after that, you use that assessment data to figure out where to start. So you can start, just focus on the cores, reading, writing, math, where they're at, and then that's exactly where I would start. And especially as not an educator, and even as an educator, it's like, okay, well, now what? How do I teach this? Think about it in the simplest form. That's what I do with students, because sometimes if you just explain it the way you know it in your head, they're going to look at you like with Bambi eyes, like, what? Like, I have no idea what you're talking about. So you have to back it up and explain it in the most simplest form possible. And I find that kids understand it that way, and even adults, like, because if we're explaining it in some kind of convoluted way, it's really hard to understand, and that goes for everybody. So backing it up and figuring out the simplest form of whatever skill is really, really important. And go slow in the beginning for yourself. Like, show yourself some grace. Realize that it can be a tough journey to teach your own kids. It can be tough because sometimes kids aren't going to get it and you might get frustrated, but in that case, you just need to come back to it another day. Switch the topic. Try it again another day. Don't beat yourself up over it, or try to, like, oh, we're not getting up until you get this, because sometimes it's just a matter of time before they get it. So, for example, when I taught first grade is a very foundational year. Like, they're going through a lot of changes. And I taught first grade for several years, and there's some kind of development that happens in that first grade year where some kids, they just won't get certain things. And the parents like, what can we do at home? And they're already doing it. I'm doing everything I can. I was like, you know what? They just might not be ready. And for some reason, I'm telling you, with so many of my kids, after Christmas break, they come back and they got it. And it's cake for them. And it's just bizarre. And the parents will come to me and they're like, I don't know what happened over Christmas break. And then we came back, and then they're just stellar. They got it. They just weren't ready. So sometimes they're just not ready. And we don't have to beat them over the head with it. Because if you think about us as adults, like, if we don't understand something, we take a break, we come back to it a week later. We don't keep going and going and going because we get frustrated. And that frustration is amplified for kids. So just keep that in mind when you're teaching your kids at home. And just remember, like, have fun. Education should be fun for you, your child, because we want lifelong learners here, right? And if we make it torture, they're never going to want to learn anything. They're never going to want to read. And And that's just not a good thing. Like, we all need to grow and learn as we get older. So that's all I had for you today. So if you have any questions about getting started, and if I left something out, because I'm sure I did, if you have some other questions, let me know in the comments, and then I'll definitely do a video on it coming up here pretty soon. And just let me know. And if, yes, so I just wanted to also share my website, projectconfettikids.com. There's some new updates over there and some fun things going on over there. So I hope you go and check that out, and I will see you tomorrow.